Hey, welcome to the Professor of Perseverance podcast. I'm Dr. James Purdue, the Professor of Perseverance, and we've got a guest today that has not let her disability hold her back. She's pushing forward and wants to help you do the same to achieve the best life that you can have. And her disability is she was born with cerebral palsy, and we all heard of it. Maybe not all of us know much about it, and there's again, like most things, different levels of this cerebral palsy that goes. And I actually had a roommate when I went to college, and he was born that way as well. So, Meilin Ehike, let's go ahead and get started and get you on here. Thank you for being.
Hello, everyone. Hello. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you for coming in. And again, the part of the world you're living in.
I'm in Germany, southern Germany, close to Munich, so Bavaria.
Good deal. And but I would just mention to you just before we started, most of my shows have been people in our states, United States, and this is going to be great to show that people on the other side of the world, whatever's going on in life, they still want to achieve the best life as possible. It's not contained in one area; it's
No.
everywhere.
Mm. Yeah, I think it is really, we're human beings. I look at that only, and we're the same. We love connection to ourselves. We love connection to other people. We love connection to animals and nature.
And yeah, exactly. And we all want to, uh, like I said, we all want to be loved and we want to give love and we
Yeah.
want to help and serve other people. And there's some people that, for whatever reason, don't want it. And we can
Yeah.
only advise and try to help, but it's ultimately their attitude to accept anything to move forward as well. And again,
True.
thank you for being here from Germany. And so let's go ahead to cerebral palsy. And
Yeah.
so go ahead and explain your part again. There's many different levels of that. The roommate that I had, his name was Jim, and he had all his upper body strength, but he had very little in his legs. He's able to stand, but he couldn't walk any. And so, yeah, he used a wheelchair.
Yeah, I walked very late and I also spoke very late. I'm lucky I can speak, I can, um, and I can move around. And I have developed and lost upper body strength strongly. I can maybe not walk as far. I don't have to use a wheelchair, luckily, either. Um, and then I always, how do you say that in language? It was against odds. And being against
Mm-hmm.
odds, or what I was told, made me learn and become curious for what else out there, and made me experience fantastic things where I said, "Ooh, how does that happen?" And then me with my disability, um, and that formed me, gave me a lot of new insights, and that at the end, this is also what I'm bringing then to other people, to show them how precious they are. It doesn't matter how we are considered by others. As you are magical and beautiful.
Amen, sister. But there's a bunch of people out there that I don't know. I mean, I don't know. They think they're better than other people. Of course, there's bullies all over the place. And because you're different, then you're the one to pick at. I mean, again, I'm in a wheelchair. So, and it was late in life. I was 19 years old, but I still did experience some bullying at 19 being in because being different. So,
Wow.
let me talk about your mom and dad. How soon did they recognize something wasn't exactly right, and they searched for help?
I was born in 68. There was not much happening, understanding. But my mom knew intuitively something was wrong as already while giving birth. And then, I was totally red. My whole brain, um, you could see it on the outside, had popped. And she knew I move differently when you come into that age that children move, right? But then I couldn't walk and I wouldn't speak. Then she really got a little nervous, and then they gave me, things to put to spread the legs, or I had to wear uh what's the name, caskets, and they had bound my feet. Oh, that hurt, and I took those always off. And luckily I was able to tell that my mom, and she listened and never pressured me then to do this anymore, even though the doctors always told her. um, and there was always a correspondence and conversation between me and her, and she looked for other ways. So at that time there was, God, in 70s, I remember there came someone home to me that did stretching and exercise. There wasn't the big fad on yoga or
Hmm.
um, dancing yet, but she helped me at least in a playful way to do that.
Well, that's good. And so I'm assuming then doctors may have told mom, try to cradle her, don't let her
Oh
fall to
yeah,
hurt herself
that she can't
anymore.
do anything
And then,
doesn't exist. So I remember my parents always took me along, and I have an enabled brother, right? He's younger than me, and my mom is a doer. She can't luckily sit still,
I mean, that's good because
and that
I don't
helped.
think, yeah, I don't think that, I don't, now, don't get me wrong. There's some that believe they need to put into the bubble area to protect as much as possible. But I believe also giving them children the chance to try to do, mom and dad learn what they can't do so they don't hurt themselves. But I'm glad to hear that mom didn't bubble wrap
Yes,
you to
they never
protect you. Yes.
bubbled me. Maybe I was. My parents are both in a way rebels. My dad left the U.S. He's from Wisconsin, and went to the Air Force. Ended up in Darmstadt, where I was born. And my mom escaped from East Germany and was in a refugee camp in Darmstadt. And they met and they became a couple. And that from that moment, my dad had to wash dishes for a year because he was a Russian decoder. And they said, no, she must be a spy
Yes.
because no one was able at that time to escape. And they're still together, maybe a little screaming here and there because, if two wild ones always come together. And so that was in our way anyway. Our whole family, we always did what we wanted, and we always had four ideas of things should be done. Yeah, so I was in a very lively environment. My mom took me a lot outside because she couldn't move. And I think that formed me, the connection always to nature that gave me strength. But also, there is something in us, James. I believe I was already programmed to be this way. So I climbed the fence, or when we would go for walks, my mom said I would run off the path to left, right. I would jump over things, and she was always so scared, right? She had to, but she let me, and
Hmm.
so I think there is already in me something that didn't say okay with what is. I'm too curious. I stand up again. I go again. And this has happened over and over in my life. When I was down, I sense that it's all right, it's okay, and something better will come out on the other side. Over and over, it doesn't matter if it's through a relationship problem or moving or not being loved, right? And as for a woman, when you're a teenager, I said, oh my God, who's going to love me? I never find a man, right? But it was not this way. I was very surprised. Um, and I cherish that so much, how lovingly people are. So I already had friends that took me as I am. And all others, I learned really quickly not to worry about those. They were not my people. And I could be me with those people that liked me as I was. Also, young gentlemen, right, when they came into my life. Even if I didn't like them, they still became my friends, and I remember there was one really important moment. I studied in the University of Georgia in Athens, and I saw a woman limping, and she got picked up by her husband, who kissed her and took her in her arms. And I thought, in that moment, I was already young 20s, but I said, oh, look, we all can be loved. And that was like, boom. So I knew I would find the right person for me. Um, also of, that as a partner, as a life companion,
Hmm.
that it is possible, but it is important to see it and to experience it.
Yeah, times haven't changed that much. They're still teenage, and again, mostly the girls, but also guys. Who's going to love me? That's still going on today. So that hasn't changed because I used to
Yeah.
teach middle school seventh and eighth graders, and yeah, that that still goes on.
Yeah.
So, so
No,
but
no,
good deal.
that we're maybe when we have this insight of doing things. I remember I had a friend in Atlanta. He was also in a wheelchair. And one day I asked his partner, I said, "How did you fall in love with him?" And she said, "Because he was dancing with his wheelchair in the disco." I said,
There you go.
"What?" Right? And I thought, oh my God, there was this something that showed her this guy is going to have fun, whatever, or he doesn't care, or he is so strong and he does what he was. And she was also a very strong woman. And so that was her match. So we never know in what moment it hits us anyway and who it is. And if you're open to what comes, life can be very, very beautiful, or
That
is
is a
beautiful.
that's a key word you just said. Be open. So when people are open minded, they're willing to see the best of everybody and also to take a risk and go from
Mhm.
there. And if it works out, hey, more power to you. It's awesome. But if it doesn't work out, it's a learning tool. Doesn't mean it's a total loss in whatever area. Still may find someone else that's similar to that. Just y'all two may not have connected, but still the openness that's very key term. And
Yeah.
and, and, I, and I think someone that when they're that open, they've like you mentioned a minute ago, when you say strong, you don't mean necessarily physically strong. They're
No.
emotionally, mentally, spiritually just
They know
confident.
what they want. They know what they want to live. They know what they want to experience. They know life is precious and to be lived. That's
That's
what
right.
I see under strong, where you take the reins over yourself and you take the reins and celebrate what all these beautiful things, places in the world exist.
Oh yes, and so, yeah, I've been not around the world all the way, but I've been to a few little countries, and to me, I think people especially go to Germany or whatnot. But
Mhm.
I think people from the more developed countries ought to visit these undeveloped, smaller, and be thankful for what we have. Because if we hadn't have grown bigger into countries, we would be living in those same areas. So I think people
Yeah,
ought to
and I
step
saw
out just
that.
to view.
I traveled once to Sri Lanka and I saw a young woman get water out of, the swale, right?
Hmm.
What we have in the US next to the road. I sensed, and I remember I spoke so often about that afterward. She was so happy. And I had to think about, so she had to walk from these tin roof shacks, we would say, and there was a happiness, there was a calmness, and also she walked different. I couldn't remember how she walked. Now, I don't want to use the word pride, but she knew who she was and that she was valuable to live, valuable to exist, valuable to be in that moment. If you can't even give it a value, but she yeah, again, the word rain tonight, that word rain comes, she reigned in that moment and you could see it, feel it, and how she interacted with the children around and adults. And I said, oops, it was like, just a moment, but that hit home in me.
But she knew that she had a self worth of something, whatever it was that she was providing for her family. That here in our country, if our pipes burst, we're throwing a fit because we can't get a drink of water. And here they are
Yeah.
walking, half a mile to bring back this water to help their family. And yeah, there's a lot that we can learn from them because we have so much.
Yeah, maybe living in a community. And you were speaking at the beginning about a support system. So the support system is our community, and we have been pulled apart. And I think in the Western world, we don't have a good support system anymore. We all live single in an apartment or even in a house, or maybe then two. There is no community. And one of my big wishes is that we come back together and see how precious we are and go into a different relationship again. And don't look at our outside too much, but what is inside, and that we also take the time to look deeply into the eyes of another person and see what's the story behind than only the moment I'm meeting you right now. What do you carry? What have you gone through? What has been your life?
Yes. And like you were just talking about, a lot of us don't even know our own neighbors any longer,
Mhm.
where everybody used to know everybody.
Yeah.
And that way they knew if someone's struggling, they get a group of people to go help them. But yeah, nowadays it's pretty much you're on your own, and which is, I mean, good and bad. I mean, it's good and bad because the world is good and bad. But yeah, I wish it would be get more to at least knowing your community around you, so y'all can have your biggest support system to help each other. So
Yeah, and I have to go. I remember I grew up for a while in the Swiss Alps, and people were greeting you all the time. And then you come in and no one greets. So then I lived in the US, also very open, right? That's like my dad's inviting, and you share more of yourself in a restaurant. If you're standing in the grocery line, you barely do that here in Germany. you
uh,
know, you, and here they walk down. But then I thought, okay, I can adapt to this, or I can choose my way. And this is one thing I said, I greeted people, I look in their face and I smile at people, and it changes their life for a moment. And then I think maybe they smile the next moment at someone else too. And it's not like I've not, I have, I'm very positive, but there were also times where I was worried, right? You go down the street and people turn around and look after you because they look of how you walk. And also there I was lucky. A friend of mine, she said, I don't know, it was maybe sixth grade, seventh grade. She said, Meilin, but they look at your eyes. You have different ways of looking at people. They're not looking at how you walk. But in my head, I was thinking of how people were looking at me, that they were looking into on my body. Yeah. So then we're mostly our own critic, and
that
make
is very
ourselves
true.
first and say, oh, I cannot do this. I cannot do this. And again, there I was lucky to have always people that show up and say, and nudged me a little bit and invited me to try.
Yeah, that's very true. We are our own worst enemy, criticizing our own self more than other people. Because when I first got in the wheelchair, I I noticed it seemed like people were looking and staring at me because being in the wheelchair, when I'm sure it was nothing. After I got past all that, I'm sure it was nothing. But yeah, we're on our own self enemy,
Mhm.
because we're not good enough. We're not the right weight. Our hair is not the right color. We want to tear ourselves down more than the other people do.
Yeah, yeah. So, and also maybe a little cultural too. So we're also taught not to be inquisitive, right? Because in Europe, the wars over I don't know how many centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries. Maybe yes, you had to learn to be more careful. Or also because we have a social system where people have always been put on pedestals, and then another pedestal. Luckily, these are all collapsing now, and we see each other on the height of each other's eyes, right? Less judgment. Um, where did I want? Genau, because of the critic of ourselves, but then also this we can say, if someone looks at me or someone looks at you, James, most of the time they're really curious. They're
Yes.
thinking to them, oh, little children. I've just noticed I was shopping and that little girl turned around when I was pushing my groceries, and she said to her mom, "Oh, that poor woman." So I
Yeah.
thought, look, this little girl thinks maybe I'm in pain or I walk not different. She thought that was sad. And so I think many people, but she spoke it out loud because children, right? They do that.
Oh, yes.
And others may have thought that too, or they thought, oh, how did that happen to him? Maybe they know them someone else, or maybe they have their own child. We don't know, but I always now give people a chance to learn more about it and to ask and to be open, right? You can do two things. You can push people away. Oh, why did you say? You can get mad, but it doesn't bring me anywhere, and it doesn't bring you anywhere. And if I open up and share, it teaches something. It's right away, I'm an inspiration for others.
Yes. And a similar story. I was in the store one day and pushing my wheelchair, and I went to go put my hand on my wheel to push, and I felt something on my right wheel. And I looked down there, and there's this girl, probably 4 or 5 years old. She had put her hand on my wheel, and she was helping me push. Oh, I
Yeah.
was that's awesome. And well, mother being closed minded, we talk about being openness. She's closed minded. She grabs her daughter, picks her up, and bounces her in the buggy basically. And I go, ma'am, she didn't do anything wrong. I said, she's just being curious. And I said, and she goes, the mother then says to me, says, she will never bother you again. I said, you got that right, because the way she sees you acting, she's going to be afraid to come back to people, to me, to any other person with a disability, because the way you're acting. And mother left then, but yeah, she obviously wasn't open minded, and she's teaching her daughter to be the same way. When,
Mhm.
like you said, being a child, curious what's going on.
Yeah. So, also this open mind and curious. So, going back to another support system story, I also dyslexic on top of it. And then I can't speak a whole sentence, and I think sometimes too much, but the words don't come out. Yeah. And then my mom did some tests, and I don't remember, she went to Switzerland and we went there just to get also approval that there is something worth living for myself, instead of always hearing that I'm dumb,
I
or
like
that
that.
I couldn't go into a certain school because I'm dumb. But she thought there's just another way. I'm very visual for that. So words are really not so important. And I have to think about it now. Now I'm on stages speaking to people. I have a podcast. I channel languages of many star nations and if you of beings, and I do I sing. I was thrown out of class because I couldn't sing tones and the right words to it. But this is what I bring now to the world. So in a way, it's like an oxymoron for many.
That's
Or
right.
another thing, I barely move right. And if I get tired, I really limp through the world.
There
But
you
in
go.
the moments I channel and energy comes through me, I can dance people. I dance. I do not limp anymore. So also I've learned that our body, we have so much impact on our own body. We can change it, even if it's for a few moments or not, but this is already much fun. So when the beat goes on, I dance, and I've always loved to dance, and I dance still at home. This is my world. No one cares. And people come, oh, it looks so beautiful when you dance. They are so attracted to the energy that comes out, the love I put in myself. And I don't know how to in the world. I don't know how it, yeah, when I dance. So this is my strength. But I remember also my mom taking me to ballet because I wanted to go dance ballet. She took me anyway. She didn't say, Meilin, you can't. I had to experience it myself, where the teacher just asked me to do 2, 3 things, and then he said, no, she can't. I don't want a girl like this in my dance class.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. So,
because
but I
it
learned
wasn't
this way,
making
and
him
I
look
also
good.
learned to say, okay, maybe I can't do a ballet, and he wants to train ballerinas one day. I just wanted to dance because I didn't know anything how to dance in a different way at that time. But she let me experience it. And I think that's so important, to go and try. And that one didn't work, but many other things worked.
Exactly. It may not work out, but if you don't try, you don't know. And then again, if it doesn't work out, hey, you did your best. Move to something different, something better. Well, maybe better. I don't know, but try something different. Yeah. Now I could tell just by us talking here in the last 20 minutes, 20 plus minutes, that there's one thing that I'm glad, and I'm sure there's more than one, but that you were able to get from mom and dad is your confidence, self esteem. I mean, again, I tell people that I had that where I believed I was invincible, and so I can tell with this positive characteristic you got. You, and of course you mentioned your mother, escaping from refugees, and for your dad to be a pilot, that's got to have a lot of self confidence and self esteem. So I'm glad to see that you are able to get that instilled into you. There's so many people that have those characteristics that they don't use them.
Yeah. I would say, trust. We have to put trust in people. And I do the same thing with my son, or I try at least. When he was born, he's now 14, but I wanted to live my truth. I really wanted to figure out who I am and why am I here. And I remolded and made sure I learn as much as possible. That brought me more and more into my shamanic route, right? But about myself. And so I wanted to be an inspiration by living it, not by telling him.
There you go. Be an
But that was
example.
really hard. That was hard also to do that, because other parents didn't live that. So what I had to hear, or what my poor son had to hear, it's really interesting. But I thought, if I don't start, or other women did that too, and other men, how can I, create a new world with this? That's my big goal, right? That we have a world with so much more love and calmness and compassion.
When we leave, we need to make sure that we left it a little better than we were born into. And the only way we can do it is with our own aspirations, determinations to get out, to help out the world. Now, let's get to here where you help people find their oneness,
Yeah.
and their self. So go ahead and tell us, you mentioned about your radio station earlier with me off air, but your podcast, and you go around motivational speak and stuff. So let's get into all this, how you help other people find themselves, their one.
Yeah, maybe it started by, there's an underlying factor. I figured I see beauty. I see the beauty in everything. So I support now people to see it in themselves, to really love all parts of them and their unique ways, their multifacetedness, right? And so then we can see it in another person. If I can see all these things in me, and I can live and express them out into the world, and I don't put boundaries around myself, and right, then I see another person totally different. I have these open eyes, as you said. I come with a calmness. I come with an inviting way approach. Yeah, right. When you approach. And then the nice thing is, when we treat each other as people like this, then we also treat our earth in that, right? We respect then how we act on earth. And I believe we have a natural state that is this harmonic and in unity and in balance with all existing and all people existing. So then I boil it back down to support people in moving to their oneness. And my podcast is also called Moving to Oneness, where we can connect to our own knowledge, our own wisdom, and say, yes, this is who I am. This is what I love to do. And I teach others what I love to do. I share it with others, and I live it. And don't let others tell me or judge me or do all these things. And so I have experienced so much, and through my experience, I support others in bringing their light out into the world to shine and to be comfortable and to get a voice again, right? To not swallow it down if they don't like anything, or if they have fascinating things to share, that they speak it out.
Yes, and again, we've got to love ourselves no matter what's going on. I mean, we're all different. We're going to all show differences, and so yeah, from that, and yeah, show Show your light. Let it get out there and spread. Get that darkness opened up. So
Mhm.
again, spread the word, spread the positivity. Show people that yeah, you're somebody, and you want people to know that you're somebody.
Yeah,
So, and
important.
again, by doing that, you're going to help somebody else that's been holding back as well, because they're going to sit back and go, oh, wait a minute, if she can do it or if he can do it, why can't I do it? And
Yeah.
so you're going to show a big example to them.
It's a funny thing. Often it was the moments when I thought, "Oh my God, what did I speak now?" Because I love to live in the moment. I don't plan. I don't plan things even before I go on a radio show or interview someone. I see what comes out when two people come together, what energies are brought together, or what wants to appear in life. Naja, so then there's something that, there's still the little Meilin then in her head. I said, what did you speak about? And then on those days, I get a writing, oh, what you spoke, I needed to hear this, changed my life. And then I thought, so never sense that what I learned through this, never censor yourself. If we censor ourselves, we cut off our gift that we provide to others. If we think it's not important, probably in that moment it is important for
Yes.
someone else. We're here again in this community for each other, and this is really important to take in and to anchor into your body.
A few minutes ago, you said something to the effect, don't let other people tell you what to do, or other people trying to guide you through, or something similar to what you're saying, which goes back to Captain Charlie Plum I interviewed. And he, back in the late, well, close to the time when you were born, the United States was in war with Vietnam and stuff, and
Mhm.
his plane got shot down, and he was a prisoner of war
Wow.
at that time for nearly 6 years. And was when the war was over and the prisoners being released to go home, he said that his family were told by psychiatrists that him and all the others need to be put in mental institutions because they would never be able to adapt back to the real world after being beaten and starved and whatever else, and not being able to communicate with other Americans and other war people. And he said they'll never be able to adapt. And he said that's when he realized he wasn't going to allow someone else to write his story for him.
Wow.
And he gave a huge number of these prisoner of wars at that time, which went on to become preachers, teachers, congress people, presidents. I mean, just went on about how many went on. I mean, a huge number that were able to succeed because they were not going to allow other people to write their story for them. And you mentioned that.
Yeah, and I've seen it really over and over. I remember when I was in Las Vegas giving speech, and I remember I can't memorize. And then it was like a 20 minutes. I cannot memorize a speech. No way. I thought, okay, I created a little poem. I had the roughest time keep getting that into my head. Back, I said to slow down. But what I did, I went on stage and said, listen, it's hard to explain what I do. And the first thing then is I sang. But the second, when I then spoke, and I moved people already to tears. When I spoke, then I said, I'm beautiful, even though I limp onto stage and I can't remember what else I spoke. And by that time, then, because I've learned how I function, and this I invite everyone to think this now. The energies are right for that. To take the time to think, how do you function? How do you love to function? What do you love to do? By then, I had scanned the energy of the people sitting in the audience. So, and then I shared stories and a little bit in a theme for the last, I don't know what was then, the last 15 minutes. And in that time, I brought people to tears, but I shared more of my life, how I overcame things. When I was told not to sing, now I sing, right? I get invited to
I'm not
sing.
going to
I
lie
sing
to
different
I'm not going to lie
than
to you. When I
soprano.
Well, I was going to say, I'm not going to lie to you. When I started singing, people, they shut me down pretty good, pretty fast.
Yeah,
My
because it
dog,
goes
my
right
dog
into
is
a
well,
certain thing.
my dog is the only one that can stand me singing, and so nobody else can. I'm not a singer.
Yeah, But and I've learned even this, that someone said, "Oh, it's not so harmonic." But then I learned, yeah, but the non-harmonic pieces in that time always is when it was something changing in people and transforming them. That's when a structure was disrupted, right? So then I even learned that. So we have to try and learn about ourselves. I always say, we're taught to go to college to learn something to go out into the world. But I think life is the other way around. We go out into the world to recognize what we've always been doing and what makes us move and do and think. And this is to be found out.
This is a topic for another day with somebody, but I think with nowadays, especially with the internet, we don't all need to go to college anymore. So I would think that college would be on a downhill spiral
Yeah.
because there's so much that people can do in life without a degree now and make a good living. So
Yeah,
that's
because
what I
then
think.
it's wide. I was thinking about, so when I went to college, first of all, if you went to the creatives, you were labeled stupid or too lazy. You had to pick I don't know, lawyer, medicine, or maybe business to be considered smart. And I always thought that's stupid, yeah, because then you need architect, we need the whole broad field. And then that's why I also went then to the US. And then one day I said, oh my God, in this college you have 164 topics to do a master's in, or a PhD even. I can't remember which one of the
Yes.
two it was. But I thought, oh my God, look how much possibility is there. And so what you just mentioned again, James, it pops it open even further again. We can see how many possibilities are now there. And we can also say, oh, this is so me. This attracts me. This feels easy. And
Yes.
the
Yes.
times have changed where we can be so much more and we can create. So I think even now there's the time where we can create something brand new, even a new way. And that's what I invite all of my people that listen to me. You may not have any teachers or mentors out there that have done what you are going to do. So you need to start acting to do it now. You can't wait for approval. You can't wait to someone say, oh yeah, do it this way, go for it. Because they won't understand you. It's really only in you. And this is what has to be brought to the world.
I think I heard one time, I'm not sure exactly the time frame, but it was something like today's kids are solving the problems 10 years from now or even 20 years from now, but they don't know that.
Nope.
They're working on now on what's going to be in our future. Yeah, because everything is changing so much, especially with this technology. So,
yeah, we just often come back. When you look at art, we look at the Impressionists. Everyone was laughing as the Impressionists. And the Americans went over to Paris and bought all that art. Yeah, and then they became famous and a whole new route into a whole abstract art and people now painting whatever they want to. Thank you very much to each student at that time who wanted to paint a little different. I don't know what they had to hear. They were pushed aside. There was luckily a small group that put themselves together and said, we'll paint anyway this way.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
yeah.
We have to be a rebel. If you know rebels, there comes no change.
I want to thank, before we get ready to wrap her up here, appreciate you being on here. This has been amazing. You're remarkable. Again, you didn't let your disability hold you back. I'm very thankful. Tell your parents thank you for me, that they did not hold you back, that they did not put you in that bubble. They let you explore and let you try to find your own way. And as scared as they may have been, they were blessed to allow you to do that. And it's showing and shining right now through everybody that's going to be watching this in the future. And so thank them for me that they allowed you to be who you became.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So, all right. Now, go ahead and tell us how people may be able to get a hold of you in case they want to hear you speak or have you come to them, listen to your podcast. Just go ahead and tell us how we can get a hold of you if we need to.
Thank you. So it's the easiest, Meilin Ehike, Meilin Ehke. that's the name of my website. Social media, you can find me under the same name. And if you want to make an appointment just to chat with me, go to meetmeilin.com and we'll chat and get to know each other a little bit. And yeah, the podcast is moving to oneness. And there's also an interesting story now this week. There's a guy who was, Arjan, who was a hostage for 2 years, and hope and learning about himself made him also survive the 604 days
Yes. Oh, wow.
in small
That's going to be
spaces.
amazing.
And he
That's
now
going to be
shares
amazing.
this with the world. Yeah, and inspires. So
Yeah,
you always, everything you have, it's worth speaking about it. There's nothing too small not to speak about.
Amen, sister. I was getting to say, don't sit back, people, and think, oh, I was never a prisoner or a hostage, or I've never been in a wheelchair. I was never born with a disability. My story, no, your story is just as good and as better as anyone else, because how many other people have not been a hostage, have not been a prisoner of war, have not been born disabled, have not sustained a disability like me? You know, how many other people like that you could help them? Don't think your story is so small it won't do any good. They're out there. The stories are great. So,
yes.
All right, then. You're remarkable, man. I could do it like I said. We could talk for 3 days on this. This is all. I love it when I get when the time flies and goes. And I mean,
Thank you.
again, I get so much energy. I tell people, I said, whether my guests touch anybody in the world, I know they're touching me, and I'm getting something out of it. So, but all right, I want to thank you again for coming in. Oh man, this is my hey, anyone else coming on the replay, thank you for coming in as well. And be sure to share this out again. You don't have to be born with a disability, cerebral palsy. You don't have to sustain, like me, a quadriplegic or whatnot. But share this out for someone. The message is still the same. It's going to help someone. All right, Meilin, if you can do one last thing for us, we know that people are struggling. And if you can give us a powerful message to help them get through today, if you can do that for us.
Oh, I would say go look outside at a bird, at a beautiful flower, at the sun. This gives you right away some oomph and puts a smile on your face, and you can get from that moment up through everything.
And sometimes we need some oof. That's for
Mhm.
sure. Meilin, thank you for being here. Everyone else, thank you again. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.